Welcome to Never Do Business Hungry, Fresh Learn online Brief Intervention Diversionary Program. Today we will discuss the value and the impact of our diversionary program. Let's begin with what diversion means. Diversion programs give one a chance. It provides an opportunity for a first-time offender to avoid a criminal record and or a conviction in exchange for the commitment to comply with a specific set of requirements by the courts. Diversion programs provide offenders with essential services that can address the underlying causes of criminogenic behavior, such as drugs and alcohol. This is essential because adequate preventative services are often unattainable and unavailable to disenfranchised communities of color unless they have been detained by a drug-related crime. There are several fundamental components that our agency specializes in to mitigate costs and improve public safety by conducting direct services remotely for our agency for those working with at-risk families in hostile and unpredictable environments. We educate families on parental liabilities through several components while helping them maintain their court requirements and reducing the risk of public safety for providers as well as clients. Our certified brief intervention program, along with our therapeutic mentoring multi-systemic programming, gave our agency an 80% reduction in recidivism rates for 10 consecutive years, as well as a 90% completion rate for all of our direct services, while servicing over 35,000 clients in various counties, correctional facilities, and in various capacities. In addition to being the recipient of a Hennepin County Attorney's Office Community Leadership Award. This is why investing in our agency on the front end is more advantageous than the average cost of locking up a youth that is estimated at $588 a day, which equates to $214,620 per year per youth, according to a report that was done by the Justice and Policy Institute in 2020. We aid parents, administrators, and professionals who work with youth to reduce risk factors from criminogenic behaviors and promote prosocial activities. Families with or without a court order may receive access to our client-friendly and empirically tested programs. There is a wide range of value in employing our services. Our remote brief intervention diversionary program provides 4 cognitive behavioral one-on-one therapy sessions for youth ages 12 through 19 with mild to moderate substance use, with or without a court order. And it is designed to meet all court requirements while averting that juvenile from the juvenile justice system. We were trained via Hennepin County probations and certified as a brief intervention agency and specialist directly by Dr. Ken Winters from the University of Minnesota. This program is not designed for those needing a Rule 25 drug assessment, so keep that in mind. With that being said, young people are still being inundated with recreational use of drugs and alcohol and marijuana. They're dealing with high levels of peer pressure, poverty, death, murder, gun violence, depression, and even suicide. Helping them navigate impulsivity by teaching them how to deal with short-term and long-term consequences instead of self-medicating are vital components that must be considered. Without getting too explicit, this disruption has escalated into extreme dysfunctional family dynamics. It can be extremely frustrating when parents are seeking out professional resources and services in their community in order to prevent their child from, number 1, the juvenile detention, 2, probation, as well as number 3, incarceration. They want help before their child gets in trouble with the law or in school. Too often, parents tend to be ill-equipped in parenting. They are either too lenient or extremely disciplinarian, which causes them to be very punitive, or they lack the resources, which are often attributed to their child's failure academically, causing higher rates of truancy, school dropout, substance abuse, criminal activity, negative peer pressure, along with the majority of juveniles, again, not being afforded the opportunity to obtain preventative services for drugs and alcohol without first being referred by juvenile criminal justice system. I like to pause right here and talk about why we have some things available for parents seeking those additional services and working with at-risk youth. We recommend purchasing our specialized digital workbooks made for our linchpin mentoring services for those seeking to obtain affordable, accessible, meaning things that are within their economic means, to obtain those additional services that focuses on the parents' overwhelming concerns that have been associated with them facing their child's potential to be in juvenile detention, probation, or even being locked up or incarcerated. These digital work books that are downloadable enable families to work on evidence-based, self-directed problem-solving exercises, which include cognitive behavioral methods without the governance of any bureaucratic system. I need you to let that resonate, while obtaining the necessary proficiencies associated with adolescence, parenting, and peer pressure dynamics, which correlates to the objectives set by juvenile courts and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, which is the OJJDP. The workbook modules consist of 3 phases that includes 36 weeks, which equates to 9 months, that encompasses 2 decades of our agency's empirical data. Now, let's look at the course requirements for our remote diversionary program. This required video is the only requirement before proceeding. Then there is the personalized experience screening questionnaire, which we name as the PES, which is the intake, and it occurs within 72 hours after you pay. That means after you hit that submission button. Then the clock starts when the BI consent forms are signed and the PES is reviewed. That means it's assessed. The BI process, the brief intervention process, takes approximately 30 days to finish the entire course. Depending on if there are any requirements set by the court, it can take up to 45 days to complete. But what you have to understand that it cannot exceed 45 days. The booking sessions on the booking call range from anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes in duration. Participants and clients are not allowed to work on materials by themselves. The brief intervention specialist will go over all materials during the live pre-scheduled booking call. Each booking call is scheduled 7 days in advance. Participants and clients have 1 week to focus on the goals and the objectives mentioned during the previous sessions. All sessions are held privately, which means parents, siblings, friends, their teachers, administrators, or even probation officers are not permitted to attend the booking calls. They cannot watch, they cannot sit, they cannot listen to any of those private sessions because they are considered cognitive behavioral sessions. Participants, again, are not allowed to skip ahead. There is a 7-day interval between sessions. That was a set standard that allows us to meet the criteria that was set by Dr. Winters for the brief intervention. Sessions cannot be sold separately. All course materials must be completed in sequential order with the brief intervention specialist. Each session, again, is considered private because it's a therapeutic cognitive behavioral session, as mentioned before. The process is as follows. After viewing the mandatory video and the agency looking at the PESC, which is the primary tool for each participant that takes 10 to 15 minutes to administer, the brief intervention specialist will go over the rules and procedures with each client or participant. And note that there will be a checklist that will be provided for each session going forward. And session 1 is the child session, and it takes approximately 90 minutes. It remains private. Again, it's administered with the brief intervention specialist, and it's done via Google Meet. The next session, which is session 2, will not be accessible until the 7 days later. This is standard to allow 7 days for clients to work on the goals and objectives before the next booking call. Session 2, which is the parent, and it takes about 45 minutes, and that next session will not be accessible until 7 days later, which is session 3, which is working with the child, and it takes approximately 90 minutes. The sessions will not be accessible until 7 days later, which then is session 4, which is the child and parent. And that session takes about 45 minutes. It's a family session. This session is done collectively. It's the only session, which means that the parent and the child are on the booking call. It summarizes the family's objectives, the court obligations if they were previously stated, and it aids in identifying community resources. As a result, clients receive a certification of completion 30 days after finishing the diversionary program. And in conclusion, here are some non-negotiables that I will reiterate. All sessions are pre-scheduled. They are considered private. They are administered in sequence. There is no transfer to other family members. There are no refunds. Clients cannot download. Clients cannot print. Clients cannot copy, nor can they share course materials because they're considered confidential information. All materials shared or acquired out of sequence will result in an immediate discharge, revoking all access to the program. Materials: foul language, verbal abuse, acts of violence, and any conduct deemed inappropriate during the booking sessions, such as being inappropriately dressed or lewd behavior, will result in an instant dismissal during the one-on-one sessions. We are mandated reporters. Following the completion of the BI, our agency will submit a disposition contract agreement, which is a DCA. And the DCA describes the typical constraints established by the court. And then there is a community service verification record, which is a CSVR. And an administrator will sign off on the CSVR to authenticate that the community service hours were completed and instructed by the court. Then there's a DSR report, which is a discharge summary report to the appropriate jurisdiction. Now, this DSR report is for the BI session that confirms that our agency met the court requirements. The following forms are only submitted if your child is court ordered to our diversionary program and is expected to complete community service hours as a part of their court proceedings. So those documents will go to the appropriate jurisdictions when required, in addition to the brief intervention. Please make sure that you understand thoroughly our services before enrolling at the neverdobusinesshungryfreshlearn.com. For further inquiry, mail us at neverdobusinesshungry@gmail.com and attention its staff. And remember to never do business hungry, and we look forward to working with you.